So, X-Drake has some movement tech that makes him the fastest character.
Howdy, howdy, everybody. Glad to be here. This is my ASF debut, and I believe it's also the Doraemon debut for this particular event, if I'm not utterly mistaken. The speed community for this game's pretty fresh. There was some older runs done years ago by some Japanese runners, but they kind of got buried on Nico, which is what happens to a lot of those kinds of runs. And really, realistically, the community itself didn't form until like 2021 or so. So it's been really cool seeing this game become more optimized over the past couple years, and there's actually English resources for the game now and guides, which there wasn't really anything like that before. So it's been pretty cool to see. Okay. Alright, well let's just get right into it then. Let's start it up in 3, 2, 1, go. So, for those of you uninitiated with this series, Doraemon is a very long-lasting anime series and manga series in Japan. And there's quite a few games, but basically none of them, I wouldn't say none, but not very many of them have been released in the US at all. Or anywhere outside of Japan for that matter. So, with that being said, when I first started looking into these games, there was very few resources for them. Now, this particular game is the third of a trilogy on the N64, and in my opinion, it's the best of the three. That's maybe somewhat of an unpopular opinion. The first game is certainly well-liked, and the second game is kind of the black sheep in the family. This game, though, is very traditional, I guess you could say, as far as a 64 game goes. Oops. There's a lot of, just sort of, you'll see what I mean. It's definitely a 64 game. As far as the story goes, though, I'll give you all a brief rundown on the plot. So our main character here is Nobi, and his name is also in the title of the game itself. And his town here has been transported to an alternate world where everything is sort of cased in this kind of like interdimensional goo, so to speak. And the goal here is to save Nobi's town. In order to do that, though, we actually have to leave Nobi's town, which we just did, and we're going into the first level already, so we're going to just be getting right into it here. So right out of the gate, we're equipping a pistol, and it just looks straight up like a revolver, which I've always found pretty funny. You'll notice I picked up an item there. It looks like a green can of bug spray or something. We call those sprays, and they're going to be very important throughout this run, as you'll see, and I'll explain a bit more about those as we get a bit further into the run. You'll notice I killed an enemy there that also dropped one, and it's worth mentioning that enemy drops are RNG, so I may have to do some on-the-fly routing depending on how many good drops I get versus not. So here we're going to talk to this girl, and she's going to give us a crystal. We need a few of these to beat this area, and then we're going to use this item here, which is called the Anywhere Door. It simply lets us leave a level early. And right out of the gate, I have to apologize for this level. It's extremely dark, and unfortunately it's going to stay that way. There is an item you can use that brightens the area up to make it visible. Being that this is a speedrun, I don't need to actually see where I'm going. I kind of just know where everything is, and you guys can't see it, so I apologize for that, but it sort of is what it is. The good news is there's only 2 areas like this in the game, and they're both quite short. But we're going to come up here and grab this key card. We're going to go in here and talk to a character I like to call the engineer. He gives us a big group of text boxes. Now, as far as speed tech goes, weirdly enough, one of the harder things in this run is text boxes. You can't just simply mash the A button through them. There's kind of a timing to it. You have to tap A twice in a very specific way to kind of quickly dismiss each text box, and you'd be surprised how much time it loses over the course of a run. Coming down here, we're gonna kill this robot right here, and we've gotten really good RNG so far in this run as far as spray drops goes. And we have one more robot to kill here. Wow, everybody's dropped a spray so far. That's wonderful. And again, I'll explain more about what those sprays do as we get further into the run. Coming up here is one of our more straightforward levels. We will actually revisit this stage later in the run, way later in the run, basically at the end of the game. But our first visit here has some pretty cool platforming, actually. As you'll see, there's these slopes, and if you jump into them in just the right way, you can, yeah, like that, you can sort of just slide up them, which is pretty cool. You can kind of skate the edge here to avoid these enemies that stick out of the wall there, as you saw. We're going to do another slope jump here, and we made it, cool. And then we're going to do another one here, but we're not going to be able to quite make it, so I'm actually going to do a glitch. Oops, messed it up a little. Okay, there we go. Where I actually discharged my weapon a few times, which cancels the sliding animation. We call that slope jumping. It's a glitch you'll see, I think maybe one other time in the run. Something like that. Here we have our first mini-boss, and there's kind of a sweet spot you can stand in to defeat him very quickly. Then we're coming to one of the 2 water levels in the game. Now, we're actually going to be switching characters here because the characters have different speeds and attributes. And in this particular instance, Doraemon is a much faster swimmer, so here we are, we're playing as the other title character, which is always fun. And we actually have to use our sprays now. So if you'll notice, all of the things in my menu there were kind of blue. What it is they're covered in sort of an interdimensional goop, and the sprays clean the goop off of them and allow us to actually use all of Doraemon's tools. So part of this route is making sure we have enough sprays to beat the game. And it's really interesting how this game has developed as a speedrun over the years, because we've sort of found ways to skip having to collect sprays. The spray route has changed so many different times. Here's an example, though, where we're going to actually do just a little bit of farming. We're going to come out here and we're going to actually collect these again, just because it's a quick way to get 4 easy sprays. We're going to use the anywhere door and leave, but we're not actually finished with the level yet. It just turns out that it's quicker to leave and come back to finish the stage than it is to swim back up out of that tunnel. One interesting little trick found by a runner named BDL Crusher, right up here where we hold up into this and boop, kind of gives you a little zip, which is lots of fun. We're going to use our card key, or key card, whichever you prefer, hotel key card, and we're going to come in here, and we're going to redeem our second weapon, which we'll be using quite a bit throughout the run, which is called the Faint Bang Grenade, or we just call it the Grenade. Very reminiscent of Bomberman Hero, the way it gets used. Ah, we had our first bad drop there, where we grabbed a heart. It's okay, having a couple safety hearts for a marathon is not the worst thing in the world. And then we're going to the end of World 1 already. This is the boss level of World 1. I'm going to go ahead and warn you guys, the music for the boss battles in this game are, like, really good. Got a little bit of scuff movement there, nothing major. So you'll notice Doraemon runs quite a bit slower than Nobi, but this level's extremely short, and I want to kind of keep Nobi's health up just in case we need to use him later. So we're just going to kind of more or less sack Doraemon in this level, in a sense. It's unfortunate. We also won't be playing as Doraemon again for the rest of this run, so everybody say goodbye to Doraemon. It's sad, but it is what it is. So right here we hit this switch, come around, and we're going to ride up this elevator, like so. And we've already made our way to the boss. Like I said, this level's extremely short. We're going to kill this guy, though, and get him out of the way, and hope he gives us a spray, which he did. And I'm just going to be quiet. Check out this music. Pretty excellent, right? music in this game is just wonderful. So this boss is very easy. We can just simply spam grenades to win. And I'm actually going to look away from the boss at the end of the fight. Death animation, actually I'll let y'all see it. Death animation lags the game quite a bit. We do lose a little bit of time here to watch it. Normally I would look away, but, you know, for the sake of entertainment, we might as well show it off. And now we're on to World 2. World 2 is my favorite world. It's also where we're going to be getting the majority of our sprays for the rest of the run. But first, we're going to switch to a new character that we just got, which is Sue. Sue is quite a bit faster than Nobi and Doraemon. Not the fastest character, but she's quite fast. Ah, oh, bad luck there. It's okay. A couple safety hearts for marathon's not a big deal. Here, we're going to redeem our first aid kit using 5 sprays. And we're going to revive this robot. I wish I could read Japanese, because a lot of the story bits of this game get completely lost on me as a result. And keep in mind, there were no English guides for this game when I first started running it, so a lot of the stuff I have done with this game over the years has been trial and error, which is kind of fun, but also kind of horrifying, in a sense. In this level, we're going to be killing a few enemies to get some extra sprays. It'll cut down our farming time later. And it's actually a little faster to do the farming instead, but it's not quite as entertaining. So for marathon purposes, we're just gonna, you know, grab some extra stuff. So coming in here, the purpose of World 2 is we have to destroy these computer systems, which dispels a barrier around the final area of World 2. But we're actually going to come back out. We're going to gather some more sprays from this area here. We're going to walk over here. We're going to grab these 2 sprays. We're going to jump on down and slide down this sand. We're going to come over here and we're going to collect a couple more sprays. There's quite a few sprays in this level. And interestingly enough, the route used to not get any of these. We would just leave after destroying the computer, but it was found out that there were so many sprays here that it's just worth it to get them all. So we're leaving level 28, which is pretty good. And then we're going to one of the longest stages in the game, which is the volcano level. I used to hate this level until I found an old Japanese run from like 2015 or 16, where I figured out that I was actually doing a lot of unnecessary things. I guess you could say. Oh no, I forgot to equip it. Small time lost there. My bad. Alright. Whew, we just about didn't make that jump. We're going to come up here, and this is the only thing we need the fan for the whole game, is to blow that fire there to make the platform go up. But it is unskippable as of right now, unfortunately. And then in here, we can jump over these lava chutes. I used to think that we had to wait for each of them to finish, but turns out no, you can just simply jump over them if they're in your way, with the exception of a couple of them. You'll also notice on the top right corner of the screen, there's sort of like a meter. What that is it's kind of a heat meter, and if it completely depletes, it starts to take away from our health, similar to the air meter in Banjo-Kazooie. There's an item you can use to make that go away, so that we, can be here infinitely, but we're not going to be here long enough for it to be a problem anyhow. Plus, each time you enter an area like this, it resets it. This character, I like to call the Professor. We'll be seeing him a couple times throughout the run. Here's one of the places where we simply can't move past this lava chute, so I take this moment to go ahead and re-equip my grenade for later. And then coming up here, we could also sort of damage boost through this one if we really wanted to, but it won't allow us to catch a faster cycle right here anyway, so I say just, let's just wait and not take the damage, right? Basically finished with this level, and then we're going to be going to what I like to call the Great Farm. We're going to redeem this blue jackhammer sort of object here to open the wall. We're going to come in here and destroy this level's computer. Ah, no. He hit me. That's okay. Okay. Moving on to level 2-3. This is a very important stage in every category. The fastest farming location for sprays in the game is here. We are going to be farming a few sprays here. Nothing egregious. And 100% we spend about 7 minutes farming here. But in any percent, it's nothing like that. It's just a few moments. You can already see there's 2 sprays right there. But coming through here, we have to revive this computer. And there used to be some old tech in here where we would skip some of these puzzles. Then it turned out that it actually wasn't faster to do so, so we just don't anymore, which is kind of fun. But moving on down here, we're gonna grab these 2 sprays, these 3. We're gonna bounce up here and work our way to the left. Much like every other level in World 2, we need to destroy some particular computers. And the computer for this level is in here. So, kaboom. Oops. We're going to grab this single spray, and I'm actually going to take a quick gander at my spray count. 35. Excellent. Normally I wouldn't double check, but, you know, it's a marathon. I want to make sure I have enough to finish the run, rather than sort of trying to wing it. Now, I'm going to die on purpose here and fall. And what that does is it respawns me up here at this door that we just left, but the sprays respawn. So now we have 40 sprays, and then this will be 45. And that's all the farming we need to do. That's it. Wonderful. So, moving on to the final level of World 2. Starting off, we have a skip right out of the gate. See if I can get it. Got it. Yep, we're good to go. So what I did is I jumped and hit a switch that is off on that side. Normally you have to rotate that platform around in a bunch of different directions to solve some puzzles, but you can skip all of it by simply bombing the switch off, that's kind of off screen there. There's a couple extra sprays here that we're going to grab. We come into this area here where we get to redeem our clouds in a can. Yes, you heard that correct. Clouds in a can. And all it does is it solidifies these cloud platforms for us. Interestingly enough, a lot of these items also exist in Doraemon 2, and they serve similar, if not identical, functions. Which is pretty cool. It shows you that the people who make these games definitely do watch the anime and read the manga, and there's quite a bit of good continuity. We're actually going to switch weapons here to the gun. And this is a new thing. This has been discovered in the past month or so. Very good quick kill on this boss that we like to call the Gundam. And this is one of few bosses that we actually fight twice in the run. The second time is a slightly upgraded form. And this boss used to be a major choke point in runs because there was kind of what we thought was RNG in regards to how to beat it quickly. But come to find out, it just has to do with how much you damage each segment of the Gundam itself. And so you can see we're already on to its second phase, which absolutely wonderful. And you'll notice that the boss itself is going to die much before its health bar is depleted. The game will start lagging because we're going to simply stand here and allow it to keep shooting us. But I am going to take that moment to heal up there a little bit so that Sue continues to live. We definitely want her to survive for now. And that's the Gundam. Very solid quick kill there on the Gundam. It's unfortunate that I had to heal. If I hadn't have taken that little bit of damage earlier, we may not have had to have dealt with that, but that's okay. Moving on to World 3 is when things start to get complicated route-wise. And we actually also have to start visiting some NPCs. Ugh, terrible, right? That's okay, though. Coming into this town here, we're actually going to switch characters to the new character we just got, which is called Sneech. I'm not sure of this character's actual name, but that's the character's English name. Sneech has the fastest running movement. We'll be playing as him quite a bit. So if you should recognize this character from earlier, the Professor. You're simply talking to him here to advance a story flag that will allow us to more or less finish World 3. World 3 has a lot of situations where we just have to kind of talk to random characters and do some random tasks. Here we're going to redeem what, I forget what this is called, but it's essentially like an ID card that allows us to go anywhere. We're going to come in here and we're going to talk to this character who I like to call the Mayor. Not really sure what his actual role is. We use this item on him, and he tells us he's looking for a few crystals, and that we should go get them for him, and he'll help us out. Oops, extra jump there. So we're going to go do that now, naturally. We're going to start off by coming into the first actual level of World 3. And if you'll look, the water here is kind of poisonous looking. Kind of looks like the water in Zonus from Star Fox 64 a little bit. Only a slightly lighter shade of green. This level here, you can normally purify the water and, you know, make it to where the water doesn't damage you. But we don't need to do that. We're just going to simply collect the crystal and get out. We will be revisiting that level a little bit later. Then we're going to come to what I like to call the jungle. This is one of the more uneventful levels in the game, which is very sad because as far as any percent goes, it's uneventful. But this level itself is pretty cool aesthetically, and there's pretty cool platforming in it, especially in 100%. There's, you know, a few more things to do and collect. But anyway, we come in here and we talk to this girl. She's going to give us a couple text boxes. And then we're going to look at what's called the Time TV and watch a thing that happened in the past. Again, all of these are simply story flag things that we have to do to advance the game. At least currently. Obviously, some of these things could be, you know, skipped eventually if we learn new stuff about the game. And that's something I'd like to talk about a little bit is, you know, the community for this game is extremely small, and it'd be really cool to have some new eyes on the game, because, you know, being a 64 game, there are no out-of-bounds tricks, which is unheard of, right? But anyway, now we're actually going to go backwards to World 2. We're going to go into the city in World 2. And here we're going to walk into one house and talk to a girl to get the last crystal that we need for the mayor in the third city. Like so. One of the several times we backtrack towards the end of the game. We're going to make a stop here in this city and we're going to take the crystals to the mayor. It's a little faster to not turn the camera there, but again, marathon safety. I'd rather be able to see where I'm going. So coming in here, we're going to give the crystals to the mayor, and he actually does give us something for these, but this is the only instance in the game where you don't hear any sort of noise indicating that you've been given anything. And I got stuck here for a long time when I was first playing through the game, because I simply didn't know that I had been given any items. Kind of annoying. Anyway, coming through here, we have to revisit this level. And we are going to take damage on purpose there to damage boost ourselves over here. We're going to teleport this little teleporter here. We can damage boost our way across instead of warping up here, but I'd rather have the health for now. Anyway, we come down to this and we use the remote device that the mayor gave us. And it makes this really large amulet appear that we can't collect without shrinking it to make it smaller. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to come over here. Oh, wrong thing. There we go. We're going to redeem what I like to call the shrink ray. And shrink it so that we can collect it. Kind of an unnecessary step in my opinion, but it is what it is. Then we're coming to the final water level. This level, kind of annoying, honestly. I think what makes it annoying, first of all, is the lag, but beyond that, our fastest swimmer is actually Sue. Doraemon was our fastest swimmer at the beginning of the game, but Sue is definitely the fastest swimmer in the game in general. So we definitely want to switch to her for this. Oops, I forgot to use the submarine cream. I know I forgot something. Submarine cream allows us to dive deeper underwater, is all it does. Without it, we can't actually go down into the water at all, which is very unfortunate. So we gotta come in here. And we're gonna equip the gun. And we're gonna destroy... Oops. There we go. That little computer. And we're gonna... Similar to the first water level, it's quicker to leave. And then re-enter to finish the level than it is to actually swim back out. And it's actually not that much faster in this level. In the other level, it's substantially faster. In this one, it's only... I want to say 5 or 6 seconds faster. Something of that ilk. Come on over here. We're going to swim down this hole now instead. We're going to come on down, and we're going to use that amulet that we just collected, the one that we had to shrink. Going to revive this sort of giant statue guy. And the giant statue guy is going to break the barrier around the boss level of World 3. And of course we're skipping all the cutscenes, because speedrun, but I'll do my best to explain what's happening plot-wise. So here, we're actually going to switch back to Sneech, and we're going to go ahead and equip the grenade for the boss fight in this level. This level here used to be where we did most of our spray farming, but we've recently found better locations to do that, which I'm all for. We just about got crushed there and there, that's okay. Coming into this room here has some pretty cool platforming in it. Nice. Jump across this. And we're going to go over here and we're going to collect these. Lovely. We got a small puzzle here. I say puzzle loosely, it's quite simple. We're going to collect these 3 sprays, because we might as well. We're going to work our way up here. And we're going to kill this guy for safety. Grab an extra safety spray. Ah, no, I screwed it up. That's okay. There we go. Oops. Go ahead and heal up for the boss. Now, the boss of World 3. This boss is kind of the easiest boss, but also kind of the hardest boss. It's hard to do fast, but it's easy to do in general. Because the boss doesn't really have any sort of points of time where it's invincible, other than its general iframes. With that being said, you'll notice that the boss actually ate a fruit and healed up. If we don't kill it fast enough, it will heal a second time, and we'll have to fight it for longer, which is obviously very irritating, and the fact that I've not managed to damage it as consistently as I would like probably means that we're gonna have to keep fighting it after it heals up. We might actually get it! We did! Cool, we got the quick kill. I didn't expect to. The fight was a little sloppy, but that's okay. We got the quick kill, and we're good to go. So he wasn't able to heal the second time, which is quite nice. But now we're going to the final world of the game. We're working our way through the game pretty quick. This is World 4, easily the most complex in terms of routing. There's quite a few bosses to deal with in this world as well. 3 in total. Actually 4, I'm sorry. And the levels themselves are also pretty strange. Excuse me. So coming into this level here, this level's pretty straightforward. There's some sort of platform cycles we've got to make in the next room, but if you remember way back at the beginning of the game, I mentioned another area that was too dark for you guys to see, and unfortunately here we are. But, you know, it would take us an extra 30 or 40 seconds to light up both areas, so for the sake of a speedrun, we don't bother. Y'all are wondering how I'm able to see in these areas. I kind of can't that well, but I do have the brightness on my TV turned up quite a bit so that I can see better than you all can, at least. So we did make the good platform cycle there, which saves about 5 or 6 seconds, so that's nice. Level used to be really hard to catch that cycle in, but some new movement was found that made it quite a bit easier. This level's already finished. It's quite literally one of the shortest levels in the game for sure. Object of this world is to collect these sort of mirror objects. Then we're coming into the final proper level, level 4-2. This level's kind of tricky, actually. I'm not gonna lie. It's not hard. It's just it's not easy either. There's definitely some weird stuff that goes on in it. The first thing we have to do is come to this sign, and we use what I like to call the party popper. I have no idea what it actually is called, but it essentially melts off a bunch of the ice and brings the level into sort of a less frozen state. This level has kind of 2 forms. It can be more frozen or less frozen. We have to come in here and hit this switch, which gets a platform moving that we need to move, and then we got to go back down and refreeze the level. And I really like the refreeze here because we get to do some pretty interesting movement coming up here, and hopefully I get it. We'll find out. Alright, let's go. Come on. Got it. Nice, nice, nice. So jumping and landing on that little thing, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it can be a little tricky. So then we come around here, and hopefully we catch the cycle. We did. Excellent. And then we grab the second half of the mirror, and we leave. We are good to get out of here. So this world is unique in that it has 2 boss levels, not just 1. First thing we're going to do is actually do some slope jumping, if you remember me mentioning that earlier in the run. So we can cancel the sliding or slipping animation by using a weapon, and it allows us to skip a few puzzles. We ride these platforms up, and then we gotta go into the mirror dimension. That's always fun, right? What? I was just standing like a pixel too far back for the item to register. That's really weird. That's never happened before. Anyway, we're going to come up here, and we got to deactivate a couple switches. The first one, you'll notice here, we're underwater, and we actually have to redeem the only water weapon that we'll be using in the run. And we will actually be using it to fight something in just a moment. But we need it there to destroy a computer that's off screen. We're going to come down here. We're going to re-equip our grenade. And we're going to blow up the computer that's sitting there. Again, it was slightly off screen, so not exactly visible to you guys, but I promise it's there. So, back through the mirror dimension, and we're already done with this level. We're moving on to the boss, and I'm going to go ahead and shock you all a little bit. The boss of this area is Doraemon? What? Yeah, so when we come into World 4, Doraemon actually leaves our team. He gets sort of possessed by the black, purpley, evil goo that's in the game, and he jumps in a Robotnik car for some reason, and yeah. This boss fight has a few phases. Phase 1, very simple. Phase 3 and 4, also very simple. Phase 2 can be a bit of a pain, because it's done underwater, but we'll see how I do. Actually, that was a really good Phase 2, if I do say so myself. I was quite satisfied with that. Phase 3 and 4 are pretty much the same as Phase 1, except for Doraemon can do a couple of different attacks. We're not really going to have to worry about those much, though. As you can see, Phase 3 is already done. And then we're on to Phase 4, which is basically exactly the same as Phase 3, except for we're back in the original room, and we can finish off the fight. Very good Doraemon fight, actually. Maybe one of the best I've ever had. So, this does bring Doraemon back into our team. Hooray. Unfortunately, we're not going to be bothering with using him anymore. So, what's happened here is the final area has appeared. You can see it there to the left. And the final area, pretty much, in order to get there, we need a spaceship. And in order to accomplish that, we got to come back to this level. A cutscene that I skipped shows a spaceship crash landing in this area, and we're going to go investigate it. Which gives us our sixth and final character, Dorami, who is basically just a girl version of Doraemon. We may actually end up playing as her if any of our characters die. She has a decently fast movement speed, and she's always kind of a good backup character for the end of a run if something goes kind of sour. And there we go. We got Dorami and her ship. Then we gotta go visit the cities again to initiate a quest to get a weapon, because we need a new weapon to go fight the final boss. The game actually won't even let you into the... Oh, whoa, I thought I was in the second city. That is my bad. Anyway, the game won't actually let us into the final area without that weapon. So, quick to just sort of go ahead and initiate the quest to get it as we're passing through. Next, we have to go to the second city. And I got stuck here for a obnoxiously long amount of time when I was trying to figure this game out. And I'll show you all why here in just a second. But the first thing you have to do is you take the floppy disk that the first engineer guy gave us, and we give it to this guy. He tells us, hey, I can make you a weapon, but I need, you know, a couple extra things and blah and blah. Now, I already know where to go and get those things, but you can't actually initiate those things without walking down here and talking to this NPC. And it literally just he just gives you one text box. That's it. Quite annoying. It was I got stuck there for days initially because I just couldn't figure out what part of the process I was messing up. And it was just that I hadn't talked to that one character. So we're gonna come in here. This is what I like to call the Crocodile Village. And we're going to redeem our last few items. First one here is the Translation Stone. It allows us to talk to things that don't speak our native language. Oh, yep. The Suitcase. We're going to use that. Excuse me. He's going to let us on through. And this it's kind of a copy of the Darunia thing from Ocarina of Time, honestly, where we redeem this microphone, and it's our last item of the game. We ended the game with 2 extra sprays. Fun. And we sing to him, and he gives us a big jewel. That jewel is going to be used to create our ultimate weapon, which we'll be using to fight the final 2 bosses in the game. Now, we're getting ready to go to the final sort of gauntlet, I like to call it, and it truly is a gauntlet. There's quite a bit to do, and 3 bosses for us to deal with. A lot of fun. Anyway, we give this guy the gem that the alligator chief gave us. He gives us our final weapon. And we're on to the final level of the game. So this game flies by with any percent. You see, you know, the team is all assembled. We're ready to go. And here we go. If you look, we got an air meter. It's because we're in space, apparently. And luckily for us, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing here to even bother collecting. And we can just skip past all these enemies. And it doesn't really matter. There is an item you can use to where that air meter goes away, but again, sort of a moot point. This room here is riddled with fun skips. Play it safe there. You can run past him without sort of kind of shuffling to the right like that, but you can get a little unlucky and he'll shoot you and knock you off the edge, and I'd rather not get knocked off the edge during a marathon. So we're going to hit this little chute here, and we're going to work our way on up. And I'm actually going to switch weapons back to the gun. And for those of you who remember earlier in the run, you may know why I'm switching to the gun if you happen to remember. We are now fighting the second version of the Gundam. Lucky for us, they both can be killed the exact same way, by simply standing in place and holding B, with the exception of Phase 2, which he sort of kind of splits in half there. That should be it. He should explode now. Wonderful, wonderful. And we just need to shoot him right in the face. A bunch. Also, notice how these little robots flying around us keep trying to hit us, but they just simply can't. Pretty funny to me. There's like a sweet spot you can stand in, or if you just kind of don't move, that you never actually get hit. I find that pretty entertaining. We're going to go ahead and heal up Sneech, just to be a little safe. And that's the second Gundam fight. So there's only 2 fights left, and we're really close to the end of the game at this point. I'm going to go ahead and hold right. For that reason. We can just kind of go ahead and run in this direction. Going around here, we're going to ride this platform on up. We got to hit a couple switches to work our way to really the actual final boss. Similar to Final Fantasy VII, there's kind of a true final boss that we still have to deal with at the main end, but it's not really a fight as much as it is a formality, I guess. So we're going to be fighting definitely the most difficult boss in the game coming up here. And we'll actually have to use our special weapon that we just acquired. We won't be using it very much, though, unfortunately. So this switch here is extremely finicky. We'll see how long it takes me to hit it. That should work. Nope. There it goes. That switch is very finicky. It's quite annoying. Oh, I forgot to change weapons. This is unfortunate. That's okay. I can pause pretty quickly, and I should be okay. So we're switching to our special cannon here. Notice that the meter on the bottom is charging up. Oh, I didn't damage him. No, what? That's okay. So notice we're tiny. He has shrunk us. It's always fun. I usually just let him shrink me on purpose because it ends his attack quickly. So now the barrier is gone, and we're going to switch back to the grenade. The gun just simply takes too long. The only purpose of the gun is to dispel that purple barrier around the character itself. It's also quicker to, again, simply let him shrink you. You can move on. However, it's very important that we don't accidentally end this fight tiny, because if we do, the game is soft lock and we can't beat the game. Which, the very first time that happened to me, I was on a world record pace run, and it was quite irritating, obviously. So I'll be playing it a little bit safe once we get into the final phase of this boss fight, to make sure that that isn't a thing that happens to us. Speaking of, we're coming into the final phase of this fight right now. Notice he does the spin attack there with the shrink ray one more time. Typically, we don't even really see this phase of the fight right here, where he starts to like kind of clone himself, but that's okay. And there we go. So that's the second to last boss in the game. We officially have saved Nobi's town. The goal of the game is now realized. But now we gotta go back in time. Yes, you heard me. We have to go back in time and stop all of this evil from happening in the first darn place. And we gotta fight a helmet. Kind of underwhelming for a true final boss, but hey, it is what it is, right? He does, unfortunately, have a barrier for a moment, so we gotta re-equip our mega gun, or whatever you want to call it. This part of the fight is quite annoying. His movement patterns are RNG, kind of. You can sort of aggro him where you want him to go, but it's not exactly consistent. We're very, very close to the end of the game, less than 30 seconds away or so. This last part of the fight is free. The time ends when the screen fades fully to black after this boss explodes. So there you go. Doraemon 3, folks. On the N64. And time. So yeah. It's an extremely fun speed game. It's an extremely fun game casually as well, especially if you like platform adventure games. It's got a lot of really interesting mechanics, good music, very nice but small community. The first and second Doraemon games also are in a similar situation, and a lot of us cross over and run the other three Doraemon games, or the other two Doraemon games on the 64 as well. Definitely check us out. You know, it's a growing community. It's a great time to get into this game. We just found a lot of new strats and developments about a month and a half ago or so, and it's been wonderful. But we'll watch these last cutscenes here, and again, thanks for having me here at ASF. It was a lovely time running with you guys. I hope it was a decent run. A lot of great runs coming up, so be sure to stick around. Hey, thanks for the GGs, guys. I wasn't looking at chat during the run. I apologize for that, but I pulled it up here at the end. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and a sub 40 run, that's pretty good. Especially for a marathon run, that's quite nice. Definitely took some safety strats, but it went well. The game also has an oddly short credit sequence. Like, it's already over. Weird, right?
past all of the shrines after being teleported away, so that basically Shion would buy the fact that Mu actually betrayed them.